Elspeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. So this is going to be my longer video where I go into a specific aspect of astrology that I want to discuss with you because I think it's important. And today I'm going to focus on two things. One of them is the much talked about and upcoming Jupiter conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, which will happen on the Winter Solstice, which is the 21st of December 2020, certainly on the West Coast. And then the other one is going to be the Saturn Uranus square that will be ongoing through 2021 too. But my main focus is going to be on the Jupiter Saturn conjunction. So this is a new 20-year cycle that is set up where we have both Jupiter and Saturn kicking off that whole cycle in Aquarius, which is an air sign. So when we look at the degree points, the range of degree points, and you can look at your chart to see if you have a significant planet or luminary around these where it starts. So the range is about 0 degrees of Aquarius up to 1 or 2 degrees. Really 1 degree. I'm a big stickler for, especially when it comes to transits and progression charts, being really careful with the degrees orb. Not so in natal charts, by the way. My orbs are much larger. So let's take it up to 2 degrees, but more precisely, it is between 0 degrees and 1 degree of Aquarius. That's pretty important in terms of the start of this cycle. But we're going to have both Jupiter and Saturn cavorting together basically from the 15th of December, right where they're at the end of Capricorn, around 29 degrees or so. So it's not going to be exact. It's going to be exact on the 21st, but the influence is going to be about halfway through the month of December. You could start feeling this change, and it's literally a change is in the air because we are in an air sign of Aquarius, right? Now Saturn will be in there for the next 2.5 years. Jupiter will be actually in and out of Aquarius in 2021, and I'll discuss that as we go through 2021 as well. But we'll just say that it'll stay in there. That's Jupiter in Aquarius for about a year. Jupiter typically spends about a year in every sign, and it returns to that sign approximately every 12 years or so. Okay. It was interesting because I was watching an Aldous Huxley video. I used to read all his books when I was a teenager and had to read Brave New World as well. He's the author of that. You may have heard of him. And it was interesting because in this interview, he was actually talking about Shiva and was mentioning this brass statue, that it was outside the grounds for the Huston Collider in Switzerland. And for those that don't know, the Huston Collider in Switzerland essentially breaks up protons or ions at the speed of light. And the collider boosts these particles along the way, and it basically is to help these physicists test theories of unanswered questions in physics. That's basically it. I'll give you a Wikipedia link if you want to know more about this. And certainly they've made some discoveries, but I haven't heard from them for a little while, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. But what brought this to mind to me was that I had just looked up, what god or goddess is associated with Saturn from sort of the Indian Vedic standpoint. And it seems consistently it was Saturn was brought up associated with Shiva, although the moon was also mentioned too. So that's how I kind of delved into this whole thing. But then I said, wow, that's interesting, because we could say that Saturn, as representing Shiva, has Jupiter conjuncting it, making it bigger. And what is that bigger? Well, Shiva itself, when facing chaos, destroys, but it just doesn't automatically go out and destroy. That's an important thing to remember about Shiva, because Shiva sometimes is described as the great destroyer, and for sure he does destroy, but it's only when there's complete chaos that he steps in and does something. So that's kind of the image. Now, when we look at this brass image, which is an image that's shared in many different ways, you can find it online and in textbooks and that. But basically it's this man dancing a dance very freely within this whole sort of circle of flames. And of course everything in this image does have meaning, and I will put a link to that too if you want to read a lot further on that. But it just captured me with regards to this whole Jupiter conjuncting Saturn, that Shiva, the energy of Shiva, is involved here. But as I was reading through some of this and listening to Aldous Huxley describe in depth about this, it was also clear that this is a dance, but that what's important about this dance that Shiva is doing is that the creator of the dance and the dance are one. And I thought that was actually very significant, that it's difficult to separate out these two different things. You can't point to the dance and then separate out Shiva itself. It's all part of one. And of course this then incorporates and embraces psychological selves of ourselves, the cosmic outside of ourselves, and then of course the spiritual dimension inside ourselves. That's kind of what this all encapsulates. But I thought this was very interesting for us to maybe bear in mind. Okay, so we're going to be looking at, in addition to this new start of the cycle with Jupiter and Saturn, we also have Saturn and Aquarius going to be squaring Uranus and Taurus. Now, remember that Saturn will be at home in Aquarius because it is a co-ruler. It was the original ruler of Aquarius until we discovered Uranus. So it is a co-ruler, so it's very happy here. And I would say probably on the stronger side in terms of who has the upper hand, it would be Saturn because it's kind of in its home sign, whereas Uranus is not. So approximately every 22 years we get something like this happening. In the last time was July, November 1999 and May 2000. In 2021, this square of Saturn and Uranus will happen 3 times. It'll happen on the 14th of February, the 14th of June, and the 24th of December, all in 2021. So really this is asking Saturn, saying, I want you to adapt to change, and the change of course is represented by Uranus. But it's in fixed signs, so both of these signs are fixed. So there's not going to be a lot of wiggle room. Although there may be a request for change, there's going to be change whether we want it or not. Now collectively this speaks to, with the square, restricting the masses, right? That's represented by Aquarius, and controlling your resources. So that's that whole Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is our resources, and what we have around us, what we value. Okay. When we look at Jupiter staying in Aquarius, it will stay, as I mentioned, till about December 2021. Saturn will leave Aquarius in March 2023. We will have both Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius together from approximately the 11th of December 2020 right the way through February 2021. And really this is asking us to expand our higher consciousness in a stepwise manner, breaking out of the old and the stagnant. Okay, so the old and the stagnant is represented by Saturn, and the Aquarius is all about breakthroughs. And of course with Jupiter there, it's just going to be magnifying it and growing it for us. So these are the types of things that we're going to be thinking about, what we're going to be facing and what we're going to be, more importantly, embracing. All right. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go through each of the ascendants and or sun signs, but from the standpoint of the cycle of both Jupiter conjuncting Saturn in Aquarius and what house it may fall in for you. If you've got your own chart, please look up the degrees of 0 to 2 degrees Aquarius. If you've got anything significant there, like say the sun or the moon, or your ascendant for instance, this will be an important cycle for you. So this is a 20-year cycle. So if you do have something important, or say a group of planets there, this 20 years will be very important for you, more so than others. But I will cover the area of your life that will be generally activated in terms of you coming into maybe a higher level of consciousness, embracing the world, literally, where friendship will be very important, where we work for the collective, and the collective individuals are important. There's not one more important individual compared to another, and where our structures actually support the individuals within our societies. So there will certainly be some revolutions that will be happening within our existing structures to make all that happen. I mean, that goes without saying. You don't need astrology to tell you that. But it's interesting how over the next 20 years, this is where we're going to be seeing all our changes with regards to embracing things that are for all, all for one, one for all. We'll start off with Aquarius. So Aquarius, this is going to be your first house. And the other thing you're going to be hosting, of course, will be, because you actually have Saturn here, you will be actively engaged in that square with Uranus and Taurus on those 3 different dates that I mentioned in 2021. So you might make a note of those 3 dates that I gave you. Again, 14th of February, 14th of June, and 24th of December 2021. But when we look at your sign, we're really looking at you making some major changes to structures in your life. Now, some of these may come from the outside, with Uranus coming in here with the square, where you may have to do some creative thinking with regards to how you incorporate some changes that come in from the outside for yourself. So this could be anything with your first house. This could involve literally you. It can involve your environment that you're in, whether that's your job, your home that you live in, who you are as well. So this could be a major change of yourself at this time, where you decide to change how you do things with regards to anything to do with the structures that you have in your life at the present moment. It could also be you letting go of maybe an archaic way of looking at things, where you start maybe taking a more Jupiterian view of your life, where you start saying, okay, so what do I do with the rest of my life here? And start maybe visioning more of what you want and bringing in those structures that are going to be important for you to get to where you want. For Pisces, it is going to be your 12th house that this falls in. And the 12th house is really about your spiritual self. Now, you're already a spiritual sign, so this speaks more to you, probably setting up structures in your life that lend itself for you to express your spirituality more. And to maybe take even some great vision that you've been concocting in your brain about what you want to do in your life. So the vision side of it would be the Jupiter, and then the Saturn would be putting structure around that. But this is kind of behind the scenes, so different than Aquarius, where they'll be doing it overtly. You are going to be doing it behind the scenes, and maybe more in your mind, and just behind the scenes deciding, this is a better thing for me, but I don't want to announce it quite yet. But spirituality would be very much involved here. Now, I'm also feeling that you may also get involved in some kind of metaphysical type group, and this could range from anything to shamanic things, to astrology, that sort of thing. Like I said, you're already an intuitive sign, so you could also have some flashes of insight happen for you here, where you get some downloads of what's meaningful for you. So, I mean, Jupiter also represents, right, the meaning side of our lives. And you may just get more deeply involved with the meaning in your life and how spirituality helps you with that. So it could be something as simple as you deciding on a specific meditation practice that helps you get meaning in your life, as well as give structure to the vision that you want. The 12th house is also, you know, you having a rest. So it could be here that you need to set up some structures in your life that give you rest, that are important for you. Right. For Aries, it's your 12th house. So this essentially speaks to two things. It's the groups and the friends that you have, as well as your hopes and wishes. So this may be a time when you start taking a wide view of what do I need to set up here with regards to friends and groups, as well as my hopes and wishes. So those areas could totally transform for you, where you bring in the Jupiterian vision of what you want, and then start slowly building structures over the next few years that support that. Yeah, so that's basic. So this could see you having changes up in that area of your life. For Taurus, this is your 10th house of career. Now, like Aquarius, you also are more intimately involved in the square part of Saturn squaring Uranus. So you may have a few more challenges to incorporate some of these changes in your career. You could have some unexpected thing come in that disrupts your career for you. That kind of forces you to think differently about what you're doing here. But certainly your career and your goals are going to be very much in the forefront of your mind right at this time period, where you make changes in your structures. And I'm thinking even maybe these things that you've been doing in your career are old school, and that you need to put some new, sort of zap your career again and get it kick-started again, where it has more vision for you and represents more of who you are, and not maybe the elders in your life. So that could be, again, representing big changes in your career that more closely represent what you want to do, what you envision for yourself. For Gemini, it is your 9th house. And the 9th house is a number of things. It's foreign people, foreign things, and certainly those things could come in unexpectedly for you, where they start meaning more to you. It could also mean you literally going to a foreign land, getting involved with foreign people, but it's also publishing. And Gemini itself represents the writing side of, say, a book or publication, whereas the 9th house represents the actual publishing of that. So there could be, for some of you, you decide to put some effort into getting a book published of some sort. But it could also be going, depending what your age is and your inclination, this could also be you going to decide to go back to some higher learning. And it could be higher learning not only in universities, but because it's a Jupiter Saturn, it could also be, and Uranus and Saturn square, it could be literally the higher levels of consciousness, where you start really getting involved in that, whether you do that in situ or you do it through reading or online. But these are going to be boosting up the higher levels of thinking, like taking that high road and living that high road. So really Aquarius and Taurus are very much involved here with regards to having a lot more change happening potentially from the outside coming in compared to other signs. So what about Cancer? Cancer, it's your 8th house. So here we could see you setting up new things for yourself over the next couple decades with regards to your resources. So this very simply says, okay, I've got a 20-year plan here with regards to your investments. And this could be, of course, your investments for your 401ks. It could be your own investments in the stock market. It could be with partners. It could be just a great savings plan that you decide to put a 20-year plan in place with regards to how you're going to be saving your money. That's really what this says to me. But it also talks about our psychological selves, right? Scorpio rules that 8th house, so, you know, still waters run deep. So this could have you on a journey of the mind, where you start looking at how you think deeply about things, and maybe you need to change some perhaps deeply embedded structures that don't represent that vision, Jupiter, anymore for you. It doesn't, I see here sort of a breaking out, where you decide to make a complete breakout, but it's going to involve psychological self. So, I mean, something as simple as deciding on a new way of thinking, like I'm going to take on positive thinking now, and then having structures around you. It could be something as simple as positive messages around you that support that, but it could also be other people that are around you. You only bring in positive people to help you get in this path of more positive thinking. That's what's coming up for me here in the 8th house for Cancer. For Leo, it's your 7th house, so that's partnerships. And that's business partnerships as well as marriage partnerships. So, I have a couple things here. This could be a time period where there's breakups in partnerships, where you realize the old that you've been with don't fit you anymore. That, again, this whole breakout, the idea of breaking out of a partnership, that could be a business partnership too, where you have this vision of yourself and it's not where you're at right now. Or your vision of your partnership, marriage, or business is now changed, where you introduce change into your partnerships. Whether or not your partners accept that will depend on what their view is of your vision. And so that's why I say there could potentially be breakups here for Leos. But you know, this is you wanting to have a bigger vision with regards to the partners that you are involved with. It's also your clients too. So say you've got a business where you actually have clients yourself, your own business and clients. So it could be that your clients also are a little bit more eclectic, or that you decide you want to appeal to a more eclectic client base. For Virgo, it's your 6th house. And the 6th house I always see as the house of health, but it's also where our day-to-day work is and where our habits, what we do every day type thing. So here, this could be you deciding that maybe some mini health crisis came up, where you decide, you know, I've got to change up here. I've got to put in a plan here, a 20-year plan where I'm going to invest in my health, my nutrition, as well as my fitness. But it could also be you taking on a different job. Your day-to-day job involves those things, where, again, going back to the Jupiter Saturn part, where you envision something for yourself that is a lot different than what you've been doing. And you make steps and take steps to start incorporating different structures with regards to your day-to-day work that helps you see that vision put in place on a day-to-day basis. For Libra, it's your 5th house. So your 5th house, this could involve you having a whole new love come into your life. It could involve you deciding to set up your own business that's very unique, maybe eclectic as well. And it also could have you, depending what your inclinations are with regards to having children, it could be that a child comes in to provide you with some big changes in your life. You know, when we look at Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, this is all about shaking things up and waking things up. So it could be that you get woken up in a way through either an initial stages of a love affair, a child, or maybe your business, a new business for yourself, that really wakes you up and gives you like sort of a whole new reason for getting up in the morning and feeling good about yourself. When we look at Scorpio, it is your 4th house. And the fourth house, of course, is the house of your home. It's to some extent the habits that you picked up, as well as your mother. So there could be some changes with regards to your mother, for instance. There may be a reason where you're going to have to adjust something in your home as a result of something changing in your mother. You could have to change up your home because of something happening in your home that needs to be changed. But these are all to do with structures. So this would be restructuring your home, for instance, so that it better suits the needs of your family, of you at that time. The other thing is, it could be also that you decide to change some of your habits. Maybe some of the habits that you've grown up with aren't helping you really express who you are, that doesn't tap into expressing your real authentic self. And you want to break out of some of those habits. So you decide at this time to set some structures in place. Maybe this is some counseling of some sort. Maybe this is just literally a structure, a place that you go to where you learn new things. This could even be on the internet, going online class, that sort of thing, where you learn new habits and how to develop new habits. I think it takes 90 days to start developing those. We look at Sagittarius, it's your third house. So this, I feel, is all about communication. So this is Sagittarius, you taking on a whole new communication style. And that's communication with regards to how you think, right? How you speak to other people, how you present yourself, and how you write. So that's kind of exciting. This is putting excitement back into an unusual way, maybe, of starting to communicate that works with you. It's also connecting, of course, with things like the internet, and videos to some extent as well. It could also be emailing, anything kind of electronic that involves that type of thing, because that's also ruled by Aquarius. But it could mean too that, just generally speaking in your neighborhood, that you have, there's an expansion of the structure of your neighborhood. So maybe there's a 20-year plan where your whole neighborhood is going to be expanded and new structures are going to be put in place. This could be positive, it could be negative too, depending on your opinion of putting in new structures. But maybe it's new structures to help your existing structure, your home, be better for you. So keep an eye out for that. So when we look at Capricorn, this is your second house. And the second house essentially really refers to your earned income. So this says to me that with regards to your earned income, it would be best to be looking at things that may be a little unusual, where you expand the unusual things, as well as expanding anything that's connected with the internet or electronic type stuff. So this may be you deciding to make these kinds of changes where you decide that I'm going to take my business online and utilize all the platforms that are there to earn money. I mean, that's kind of straight off what I see for you. But I see this kind of exchange back and forth, utilizing these new technologies. That's the thing that's up for you now with regards to you earning money. Now, at a deeper level, of course, this could be you changing your value systems, and this could involve you also deciding to change how much money you charge. Now, typically we always think value, I have to charge more money, but it could be you charge less money for what you do. There is another alternative thought in that regard. Generally speaking, most people would say, if you value me, you'll pay for it, and paying for it usually means paying more for it. But I think this could reflect your value system, where you decide that either A, you're not being valued, or B, that perhaps you're not valuing yourself, and in kind, because you're not valuing yourself enough, other people aren't valuing what you have to offer. So these are something that you may have to sit and think about a bit, Capricorn, but it's all positive. Remember that. These are not negative things. All right, that kind of sums things up with regards to what I have to say for all the ascendants and sun signs. I know it was brief, but there's so much out there right now on this whole Jupiter conjunct Saturn that I didn't want to, either repeat what maybe other people were saying, or I wanted to give you something slightly different and just something brief. But as always, I love hearing from everybody, and we can set up comments where we can, discuss back and forth. You may have your own ideas of what you think. But again, take a look at where 0 to about 2 degrees of Aquarius is, because that's where this actually starts with regards to the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which sets up a whole new 20-year cycle for us. And I'm just going to leave you with a Buddhist saying that I hope will inspire you during November or whenever you're watching this. Always remember that spring always comes after winter, right? So spring follows winter. All right. Lots of love to everybody. I'm thinking of you all. I guess the next time you're going to hear from me is when I speak about the December 2020 video, and in that video I'll do a little preview for all the ascendants and sun signs for 2021. I look forward to that. Take care of yourselves, everyone.